Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Third Space Podcast, episode number 55, an underrated episode. It is an underrated episode. I guess I can't actually say whether it's underrated or overrated since it's only just now releasing, but I think it will be underrated, meaning that it's actually going to be really good. And the reason I say that is because Daniel brings a new segment to the episode that he titles Overrated or Underrated or Just Rated, except actually you can't use rated, you can only choose overrated or underrated with a gun to your head or something like that. Anyway, the whole point is that he presents me with a number of concepts, ideas, things, sensations, whatever, and he asks me to judge whether they are overrated or underrated, which is one of my favorite things to do. And we have a lot of fun discussing the various things and talking about why, and it takes up the entire episode. So hopefully you will enjoy it. See if you agree with my judgments that I pass or not. Probably not, but that's okay. Your opinions are overrated anyway. Please enjoy.
Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast.
It's
Hello.
the Third Space Podcast.
Yes.
That's our
It is.
podcast.
Good intro. Want to play a game?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a new segment, or at least,
Okay. At least.
and I'm going to call it Over or Under or Just Rated.
Oh, that's a great title. That
It's a work in
acronym.
progress.
It's a good acronym too.
Did you think that was a good segment title? Is that overrated or underrated or
OOUOJR.
just
OOUOJR. That's great. I
All right,
really like
so-
it. No, but it's clever as well. I'm very whelmed by it.
You're whelmed. Perfectly rated and whelmed. All right, I'm going to give you a series of just things, and actually, I'm going to take out the rated bit. This is gun to your head style. You've got to go over or under. You can't just straddle the line. You got to tell me.
Wow.
So we're going to start with an easy one that you've thought about before. You've talked about on this podcast.
Wait, let me just. I just have to say.
Yeah.
That's all I have to do is say whether it's over or underrated. Is, in my opinion.
No. I want you to explain why. Yeah. So I won't let you linger too long. We won't talk like an hour of each one of these because I got a series of them. But they're unrelated, by the way. There's no particular order. I don't think one's better than the other in terms of like they get spicier or something. No. This is just. In fact, I tried to just make sure that they weren't too similar.
It's kind of like
thing.
this or that in terms of
It's
the,
like this
the
or
rules
that,
of
yes.
the game, just with a different.
Except that's
different-
moving on to the next one and then justifying. But this is
got it.
right here, right now.
Got it.
Tell me why. And you're not choosing between two. You're just taking one and you're making a snap judgment and then a snap justification.
All right, let's do it. I think this game is underrated so far.
Empathy.
Overrated. We've talked
Go
about
ahead
this
and tell me
before.
why.
We had a whole
Yeah,
podcast about this. It depends on the definitions, but empathy and sympathy are related but different. Empathy is the ability to, in brief, the ability to feel what other people are feeling. You're actually taking on their emotional burdens. Sympathy is the intellectual understanding of what someone else is going through. And my belief is that in our current society, we're bringing emotional contagions and anxiety and other issues onto ourselves by being overly empathetic when we should be being sympathetic. We should understand other people's problems and then take appropriate action rather than contaminating ourselves with their issues.
Sympathy sounds more like a logical compassion or a rational
Yes.
compassion or something like that. Yeah. Cool. The sound and feel of a cool morning in a suburban neighborhood.
I'm gonna. It's. Gosh, the sound and feel is what gets me, right? If it was just the feel, I would say underrated. If it was just the sound, I would say overrated. I'm gonna go underrated. I'm gonna say underrated, and I enjoy the feel of a cool morning. I don't like the suburban neighborhood situation and the
Well, I didn't want to
sound.
say in like the country, but I didn't want to say in the city, so I settled on suburban. What are you picturing happening?
I'm just picturing cars, taking the kids to school, and maybe the school bus stopping at the street corner,
The
and
squeaky
the squeaky,
brakes.
the stop sign, when it flicks out in the door when they open the door, and some kid is has the window down and he calls someone a butthead or something. Like, I'm just picturing all of that stuff, and that would be kind of an annoyance. The feel of a crisp morning I really enjoy. That's underrated. Although, by saying underrated, I just mean I enjoy it. I think a lot of other people also enjoy it, so it may actually not be underrated. It may be appropriately rated, but you're not allowing me to choose that, or I'll die. So I choose underrated. I choose
What is it
underrated
about
overall.
what is it about the crispness, the feel of morning? Like how is that distinct from maybe a crisp afternoon?
I think, well, the morning has a when you're in the morning as opposed to the afternoon, your day has a lot of potential. There's there there are things that are yet to happen. You're just waking up. You have hopefully your maximum level of energy, after a good night's sleep. Uh, and then there's something about the feel in the air in the morning. I guess maybe it has to do with the humidity and the sun not yet having heated up everything around
Yeah,
you.
hasn't cooked the earth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. And I personally prefer it to be a little cool, especially in the morning. It helps me wake up and things feel brisk, and it makes me feel energized. Like, let's
Nice.
let's do this. Um, and so that's my reasoning.
Yeah. All right. Next, shopping malls.
Overrated. They suck. I mean, I don't know what else to say about them. Like,
They can
why?
get stuff done. It's a one-stop shopping. It can be like
No,
high end.
no, no,
It can be
no. That is completely inaccurate. It is not one-stop shopping. It is literally mini shop shopping. Like, if you ever look, no straight man goes to a shopping mall and has a good time.
willingly.
Yeah, willingly. Now, every straight man gets dragged to a shopping mall by his girlfriend, wife, or effeminate male friend, which has been my unfortunate case many times. And you get dragged into Bed Barf and Beyond or Barf and Body Works, and then a bunch of clothes stores, and you get, oh, look, there's some knickknacks. Oh, candles. Like, you just get sucked
Sounds
in.
delightful. What about the
Yeah.
pretzels?
Well,
You get a food court, maybe
yeah.
a lot of people to look at.
Listen, I'm not saying that there aren't good things in a shopping mall. I am partial to some ice
Cinnabon.
cream, Cinnabon every now and then. I might even go into a store to buy a thing that I wanted, but that is so extraordinarily rare. And so overrated. It's mostly a waste of time, overpriced stuff. You just buy it online, and it's easier. So yeah, overrated.
I'm not,
Shopping
not
malls.
surprised with that one. Side note: Bed Bath and Beyond is closing forever. Like gone bankrupt, closing their doors soon.
Oh, the
Yeah.
one here in town I saw was closing, but I just assumed it was this one only. Wow, Bed Bath and Beyond. Now we're gonna remember them in the great beyond.
Yeah, Bed Bath and the Great Beyond. um, the phrase "Okay, Boomer."
Underrated, slightly.
Interesting.
I think it's mildly humorous, but that's all. It can be used too derisively, but I've also laughed at it. So
Do you think that there's some solid? Is there a point to be made that it's making like a more general, like, look, you're lecturing me, and you don't understand the rules of how we exist in society have changed to a degree that you are outdated. So as you lecture me, I think this is sort of the spirit of it, is to sort of dismiss and go, okay,
I know.
boomer.
yeah, that's well. My favorite usage of the phrase is when you apply it to someone who's not actually a boomer,
So,
and they And so, if it's your contemporary colleague or your student or whatever, and they do something that seems kind of fuddy-duddy or old-fashioned or just kind of weird, you say, okay, boomer, and they're obviously not a boomer. That's when it's funny. If you really are saying, our elders suck and everything about them sucks and the past sucks, TikTok, then that's not so great.
So your favorite use is when it's not used appropriately. Which is like your favorite way to use most most jokes and most references and
that's right.
It's just really funny. Like put through the Bennett filter, it somehow got a surprise underrated rating. Okay, next, Tic Tacs.
Underrated. Tic Tacs are great, especially the orange ones. I feel like Tic Tacs have gone out of fashion in the last 20 years. I remember really liking Tic Tacs as a kid, and I used to in the the grocery store checkout aisle grab the orange Tic Tacs and shake them around obnoxiously. And say, Mom, can we get these? And we would sometimes. And for a breath mint, the orange ones really don't do anything, right? This is basically just candy.
That's what I was going to ask. Where do they exist in the mint world? Because can we agree that the white Tic Tacs, or even white with a few other colors, the minty ones are just, that's what we think of when we think of Tic Tacs? And
I think of the orange ones.
Well, and I think I do too, and I don't know if it's because of you. I don't know. And I also know
because they're objectively the best.
Well, they, in terms of tastiness, it's just what do you buy Tic Tacs for? Because it's a crowded market. There's so many different types. There's what are the curiously strong mints?
Altoids.
For some reason I'm going blank on all the mints, but there's just so many of them.
There are.
And so I don't know what Tic Tac's not particularly strong. I feel like if you were to just suck on a Tic Tac, it would not give off the flavor. It might have a candy coating of even a white Tic Tac is not going to taste minty immediately. It's when you start to bite into it. I might be wrong about that.
I never bit them. I always just kind of sucked them until they disappear.
And then they would get kind of soft or disappear pretty quickly. And the orange were fruity. And there's also there's yellow and red ones.
I don't remember those.
But I guess the point is that are you buying just candy, a weird, just a candy, and then I don't know.
I think that 50% of people who buy mints treat them as candy, and 50% of people have an instrumental purpose in buying mints. They want to do something about their breath, and the other people just want some candy.
Is there any part of them that if you like candy, but you want to go with the healthier option, somehow mints fall into that in a weird way?
No one thinks that.
I don't know. I just think it's I'm a little bit of an adult here. I don't want to buy
maybe
Swedish fish.
Maybe I don't want to be a child, so I'm not buying Lifesavers or Nerds. So I'm gonna buy the adult Altoids in the the tin container, but not
kind of
because
looks old school,
not for health reasons though.
I don't know. I just feel maybe I'm pulling from some wacky place in my brain that I'm some really overweight person. They order with the diet soda and the mints,
that's offensive.
And they're and some low fat ice cream
and some Altoids.
yeah.
It's not what I picture.
Next. The sensation of jerking right before you fall asleep.
Jerking what? Like a rope? Turkey?
I realized I typed these up before.
Beef or deer?
When you're about to fall asleep and you kind of jerk a little bit. Sometimes you wake yourself up or you ever fall asleep in the car and you jerk. And you might even kick the back of the seat or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Spontaneous.
That's the way I wrote it.
Spontaneous emotions.
Jerking before you go to sleep.
Yeah, because there's no way that wasn't a setup, right?
I know. I didn't mean it. That's why I'm laughing. I'm embarrassed. I wrote the sensation of jerking right
before. I don't believe
you. Well, I did this pretty quickly. I'm teary-eyed. It's weird. I can't believe I wrote it and didn't catch it.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong
The
with you, sir?
sensation of jerking right before you fall asleep. but that's the word.
How can that be anything but underrated?
I can't name a time I've like been so
Oblivious.
dim-witted or like how did you not realize you'd written that? The sensation of jerking. Sorry,
I mean,
keep reading
all right.
it. But I really do mean the like that what is a better word than jerking than like sudden movement you make and it's a weird sensation.
It's involuntary.
Yeah, involuntary movements. Before
I know what you're talking about. I find it difficult to even fit into the dichotomy of underrated.
I was trying to push that. Yeah, I was trying to push
overrated because I don't like it. I don't like that sensation. So, but I don't think most people like that sensation. So it's hard for me to say it's overrated. But I guess
like in this or that, you have to decide on like
the metric. Yeah.
What is it a societal metric? Is your individual? Do you think it's a shared experience and thus not talked about enough that like everyone would go nod their head and be like, yeah, I know the sensation of jerking right before I fall asleep. So.
I'll have to ask people when I'm out and about what they think about it.
Put that in the dating profile along with the sensation.
Right. All of my match attempts, when you can send them a comment. So what do you think about the sensation of jerking right before you go to bed? Overrated, underrated? That'll get me a lot of hits.
Man.
Or maybe at the shopping mall, I'll ask the people there, because that would at least get me some. Yeah, I'm going to say it's overrated. Because I don't enjoy that sensation.
Yeah.
So that's the best I can do with that one, I think.
Okay. Next, nostalgia.
Nostalgia, I'm going to say underrated. I find nostalgia to be a pretty pleasant sensation. It can be bittersweet, but overall pleasant. I'm again just going on my opinion, not based on the wider world, because I think probably the wider world has a generally positive view of nostalgia, in which case, again, it's hard to call it underrated if everyone appreciates it. But
yeah, but I think it can be manipulated into sales.
It certainly can. You're right. Yeah,
we're at a prime age where I think like people in our age group, this like society is appealing to us constantly.
I think that society always targets young parents, the people of young parent age, in their late 20s and early 30s, with whatever happened in their childhood. It's always targeting them to try to get them to kind of like grasp onto a second childhood or something like that, or perpetuate what they enjoyed on with their young families. So Nintendo pandering to people our age with their old Nintendo games, or Hot Wheels.
But I even think about like retro
Altoids.
arcade bars. There's a place near here that has all like we're talking Mortal Kombat, Blitz, and it's all free. And this is becoming like a trend of these sorts of arcade bars that are all retro and retro this and retro that. And I know. Cool. I guess it's the first time retro gaming has ever been a thing. This is the first time it can be a thing, so it's hot right now. Whereas retro like re-releasing the Volkswagen Bug, that didn't land on me as nostalgic, but I'm understanding it now that it was totally a ploy, So
look for
maybe I wasn't at an age where it made sense. Nostalgia, I could not experience it. I was a kid, and now I can.
Look for Tic Tacs coming back.
Yeah, Tic Tacs. I mean,
I bet Mr. Tic Tac or whoever is really pissed that TikTok came on the scene. Because now the Google results are going to be all messed up. Like, I bet he's mad. We missed our chance.
TAC? Is that all you... Yeah. Yeah, you're right, though. It would be buried. And like any typo might... I mean, you could Google Tic Tac and get TikTok because they're like, no, this is what you meant. This is what you meant.
Could be. And like, my joke of not understanding what TikTok is and confusing it with Tic Tacs, it's not as funny anymore. Like, there are many problems. Many problems.
All right, next. The release of a new soda.
A new what?
Like soda, like a Coke.
A new soda. Yeah. Overrated. Yeah, overrated. Soda in and of itself is overrated. I don't even drink soda anymore. Like, I'm over it. So,
Well,
yeah, a
I'll
new
tell you what
soda, don't care.
if we can
Don't
get you
care.
that pumped up.
Even a new root beer, I don't care.
I was just thinking about how it seems like the reason I even came up with this was like when Surge hit the market, that was so exciting as a kid. It
As
was
a kid, yeah.
And it wasn't because I loved soda, it was the energy around it. And then someone had remarked to me like there's a new soda, and I thought to myself like,
What?
well, you have Coke,
Coke,
you have Pepsi. And
Mountain Dew.
Yeah, you have your
Sprite.
classics basically. But
Yeah.
the idea of a new one was like unfathomable.
And
what?
Like, also, you go to the grocery store and you see the knockoff sodas like Dr. Thunder and
Yeah, you accept
whatever,
all of those
and
as
you're just
part
kind
of
of like, that's not real. That's not real. And
Yeah,
like those
yeah.
don't count. And so a new soda that does count, that would
Yeah,
be
for some reason
exciting.
that counts. And
As a
it's
kid.
called Surge, and the marketing looked, I mean, vaguely like Nickelodeon or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and it was like 90s on steroids, and how
Well,
pumped that.
and you would hear the scared parents, or I don't know how this impression got filtered to me as a kid, but they're like, it's worse than Mountain Dew. And in my inverted kid hierarchy of what makes a good soda, I thought, wait, Mountain Dew is one of the best. So if this is worse than Mountain Dew to adults, that means it's better than Mountain Dew to me. Oh, I need some
is-
Surge.
You are spot on with your memory, because I just watched a documentary about the rise and fall of Surge, and that's part of what led to this too. And it was initially named, before they released it,
Splurge.
MDK was its code name for Mountain Dew Killer,
Oh,
because
nice.
Mellow Yellow had just not excited the
No,
market.
Mellow
because-
Yellow.
And,
Yeah.
and so what they did is they looked at what Mountain Dew was doing, and they were doing a lot of Do the Do
Yeah,
and like
extreme.
marketing with X Games and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so Surge came out and just they released like ultra 90s like kids being crazy, like to get the campaign went something like this. I meant like kids clamoring to get to the Surge, and so they were
Yeah.
tackling each other and jumping
Yeah.
over couches and like just being, I mean, in general, like insane and like high energy. And it got this sort of, it actually has less caffeine than than Mountain Dew.
What,
Like,
really?
kids- yeah, it's like, it had like
I got
four-
marketed to. I really
Yeah,
got
yeah.
marketed to. I got
and
swindled.
so it was like literally campaigns were started by parents claiming that kids were acting crazy. So there were a few articles written about how kids were acting nuts, but they were probably just mirroring this
Yeah.
marketing campaign, going and then because there's nothing distinct really about it.
That's really
and
interesting.
And then it got taken out of school vending machines, but
Oh.
Mountain Dew was left in, kind of thing. And then there have been a few like people missing. It was made by Coca-Cola, so there was enough online presence that they bought a billboard across from Coca-Cola in Atlanta and like said, please bring it back. They did bring it back.
Oh, cool.
Sales, it was sold out a bunch. You could only buy it on Amazon, and then like the sales tanked after like the initial like, oh, this is fun, and then no one cared again. So anyway, you were spot on in your memory of it being like Mountain Dew, but because that's what they were trying to do, is they were trying to get in the market on Mountain Dew. So
Yeah, I was.
and then it was
pro-Surge.
crazier. So okay, next,
Okay, all right.
public libraries.
Underrated. I think libraries are cool institutions or structures or what have you. I don't utilize public libraries very often. I think the last time I used a library it's got to be years ago, and it wasn't even to check out a book or a movie or anything. It was to print out something because I didn't have a printer. So like a really lame use of the library. One thing that I really appreciate, or at least I see as very cool about libraries, is now they don't just let you check out books, they let you check out movies and video games, and you can just check them out. You don't have to pay anything,
So like a Blockbuster, but free.
for
free.
Yeah, for Blu-rays or new video games or whatever, and just go check it, just like a library book, and check it out and check it
I'm
back
shocked about the video game thing.
Yeah.
Can they charge you late fees? Is that a thing?
in. Yes, that's a classic library trope. If you don't turn it back in, they'll charge you late fees.
That's what I thought.
I don't know how they
but I could
enforce
see
it.
it changing. Yeah, exactly. Like what's
They send
to
out the
stop-
library police.
There's a whole Seinfeld bit
frumpy
about
woman
that.
with the thick glasses comes to your door.
Well,
You didn't
there's a
turn
whole
back in, Prince of Persia.
And then where do you like at the end of the year when you go to pay your taxes, they just collect those fees, you know? I just wonder what the heck happens and how they enforce that at all.
It's in the FBI. It's an FBI raid.
Do you do you think they really do have a place in the public good now? Like, I mean, like I understand this access to information
Libraries?
is pivotal, and it's
Yeah.
really, yeah.
That's a fair question. I mean, listen, if I were to be the president, I would be cutting all kinds of stuff. Like whole executive branches would just crumble and die, and you could make a very compelling case for me to cut libraries, but they wouldn't be at the top of my list. They would be pretty low down the list. I think they can serve a good function. I like the idea behind libraries having curated buildings full of knowledge that people can go visit, and it's a space set aside for quietly reading or researching or whatever. I like
studying and community center in some ways.
Sure.
Like, you know, old people bingo on Tuesdays. That sounds nice.
I like the idea behind it. I totally hear the argument that the utility is not as high anymore with the advent of the internet. So, you know, I could be persuaded either way. But in my world, the Department of Education would be gone. So maybe in that world, the library would have more of a place.
Oh, you know, that's funny. I was gonna say, well, of course, libraries would go if you know if it's a hierarchy thing, but it's not necessarily a hierarchy. Like taking that out means you might have knowledgeable librarians that can help facilitate, you know, your own studies. That's interesting.
Right. Yeah. Just to clarify, Department of Education would be at the federal level. States could do whatever they want with their public education. But yeah.
Okay. Next, the concept of generational names like millennials and Gen X and Gen Z, like just this idea that we name generations.
Overrated. Maybe this is something dumb to say, but people are always having children. It's a continuum of new children being born all the time, and we just arbitrarily draw these lines to separate people into categories from, you know, this year to that year, you know, 94
I thought
to
the same thing. Yeah.
2000 and whatever, and you know, we're the millennials because of that. Like whatever the years are, I don't remember the actual cutoffs. And the fact that I don't remember the cutoffs kind of speaks to how unimportant the categorization is. So I just don't really see them as useful categories. Like maybe it's okay for your insult here and there, like okay Zoomer or whatever. Which that's, by the way, just to return to okay Boomer. Another reason why it's underrated is because you can easily fill in whatever Oomer after the okay and make a brand new funny joke out of it. Okay Zoomer, you know, others.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny one.
Yeah,
I've actually not heard it. The second I heard it, I felt like it was old, like been done a bunch, you know, because it's so perfect.
Yeah.
But so I wasn't gonna act like it was really new to me, but it was new to me, and I did enjoy it quietly to myself.
Okay, Boomer. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the generational labels.
We're all named. We're all born on this continuum, so the delineation is
overrated.
Arbitrary. It's this historian shoehorning in like these concepts and saying we're going to talk about you this way.
Yes.
Okay, next, electric vehicles.
Overrated. Definitely overrated. They are heavily subsidized, so they're actually more expensive than we perceive, and they're already expensive. Their perceived environmental consideration is a total sham because their manufacture requires rare minerals. And then, of course, we have to charge the batteries, which people are just like, oh, it takes electricity. That's clean. But actually, that all comes from largely fossil fuel-based sources. So there's a lot of lies wrapped around electric cars, and that makes them overrated. I will say, from a tech perspective, they can be cool. Like some of the Tesla cars are actually really cool. I like the acceleration because you can drive torque to every axle or every wheel. That's really cool. and so you can accelerate really fast. I like that. But yeah, it's nowhere close in terms of efficiency, practicality, price, or environmental friendliness as a regular old car.
Do you think that's just the necessary growing pains of progress in terms of like, I don't know, it's going to be messy for a while, but like is the idea, the concept of electric vehicles seems worthwhile and pretty neat, and it's just going to be bad right now and disproportionately, like, all your criticisms, hold,
Yeah,
but it has to be that way as we get there.
Sure, I have the same opinion on electric cars that I do on solar power. In
Yeah,
general.
just basically any alternative energy
Yeah,
sort of thing.
as an engineer, I'm a fan of cool technology. Being able to transform light from the sun into useful electricity, that's really cool technology. Unfortunately, it's really expensive and inefficient compared to our other methods of generating energy. And the only reason people use it is because it's heavily subsidized. So the tech is not good enough yet. But, if we figure out how to make nuclear fusion work and everyone has essentially infinite electricity to charge their electric cars, and then at that point we do have the ability to put charging stations everywhere and so on, then it becomes a little bit more appealing to me. So yes.
Are they heavily subsidizing in order to intentionally try to shift the market?
Yes.
And like try and say, hey, put a and is that there? That's totally ethically suspicious, right? Like
Yes.
to say you have to do
Not just suspicious, it's ethically wrong. Like, you should not be doing that.
Yeah, I'd have to think on that more, just because I like the idea of us investing and figuring out, and kind of, we'll never break through to something like electric vehicles or solar panels. We just won't do it unless there's some.
No, we will if it becomes cheap enough. Like, if we discover the technology or invent the technology to cheaply generate energy, more cheaply than we can by digging up oil or gas or whatever, then it will quickly overtake the market and be the main
Well,
thing.
that's what I would think. But like, what if it wouldn't become cheap unless there were a bunch of people trying to crack the code? It's just like putting more people to cracking the code and like.
I mean,
figure that out.
that's how the market works. If there is potential gain there, like the tantalizing lure of the next big energy frontier being crossed drives people to try to break the code. That's the only lure you need. You don't need government incentive. You don't need the government to steal our money at gunpoint and then in shady ways give it to companies that support them or that they support in order to subsidize this technology. You don't need that. You just need the lure of becoming extraordinarily wealthy by breaking that frontier. That's why people are pursuing nuclear fusion, for example. I'm sure there's probably subsidies there too, but people are pursuing that because whoever gets there first and makes an actually feasible nuclear fusion system is going to be beyond rich. They're going to be.
Could you explain to me what that could look like what is a successful nuclear fusion? Like what? Like, can we power a neighborhood very easily, or what does it do?
I mean, so nuclear fission is our current nuclear technology, right? That's what we currently have and have had for the last number of decades. We have nuclear fission plants. I believe there's one kind of near where you live, and you get some of your power from that. Nuclear fission uses radioactive material like uranium or plutonium in order to generate power, and so they have this material. They dip it in. I'm very simplifying a lot, and I'm not an expert on nuclear power anyway, but they essentially boil water, using it generate steam, and that's how they turn the turbines and generate electricity. And then after the nuclear reaction is carried out, you have a bunch of waste left over, and that's the main downside of nuclear fission, is that you end up with these waste products. But the density of energy contained in the nuclear material is so high, and it doesn't produce emissions like burning fossil fuels does. Burning fossil fuels, you put out CO2, which is the boogeyman lately, along with some other pollutants in the ash and stuff. But in the nuclear material, you don't have CO2. It's just heat. It emits radiation and heat, and you boil the water that way. But then you have to do something with the leftover nuclear material.
What is this leftover nuclear material? Is it pretty scary stuff?
It's scary stuff. Yeah, it'll kill you. It's highly radioactive, and so they encase it in concrete and bury it deep underground. That's essentially the way that they deal with it.
Doesn't that sound like a dystopian? Like they're just kind of like bury it, but metaphorically, it's just like what?
No,
the hell is it though?
It's scientifically sound because this stuff has a half-life, meaning after a particular period of time, all the radioactivity will decay such that it's not dangerous anymore, and it'll just be inert material. And sometimes these things can have really long half-lives, and they can stay radioactive for hundreds or thousands of years. But I believe the waste that we generate now has half-lives of I don't know the number off the top of my head. Decades, something feasible where you bury it and forget about it, and then after a while it's not dangerous anymore.
So nuclear fusion, what does that do that's so different?
Nuclear fusion is a different chemical mechanism. So in fission, you're bombarding particles and breaking them up, and when the atoms break up uranium or plutonium, it emits energy, and that energy is what you use to boil water. In nuclear fusion, you're pressing atoms together, so it's a different compound. You're not taking uranium, a heavy metal, and breaking it up. You're taking light components. I think they use hydrogen or maybe neon. I don't remember the details. It's one of the low mass elements, and they squeeze them together really tight. It's the same process that goes on in the sun, and when you squeeze them together really tight, usually by magnetic fields, they eventually you overcome the force, the resistive force, and they bond together, and you essentially create a new element by squashing together these two atoms, and that releases you fuse them exactly, and that releases a lot of energy. And then the rest of the process is essentially the same, as I understand it. You would use that energy to boil water into steam and turn turbines. I don't think they've gotten
no waste. I guess what's the
I can't say for sure. Since there are no successful nuclear fusion plants, I don't know. I don't. There's certainly not the same kind of waste that there is with nuclear fission. If I remember correctly, sometimes in at least the way that they're currently building the nuclear fusion machines, they have to put some kind of coating on like the walls of it in order to catch the nuclear byproducts, all of this energy, and when it hits, it can make more radioactivity or some kind of dangerous nonsense. I don't know the details. So I think they're still.
I didn't mean for this to turn into a quiz on nuclear energy.
I think they're still working out a lot of that stuff, and the ultimate point is we haven't quite got there to where we get energy out of it. Right now, it's still net negative. We're putting a lot of energy into it. And we can actually see nuclear fusion happening. We can achieve fusion, but we can't achieve a reaction that continues and gives us more energy than we put in, like we can currently with fission. So we're not quite there. People have been researching it for decades now, and we just have never quite got there. I think in the last year or two, they've made major progress. So we could see it in our lifetimes, maybe.
It's exciting.
And in that situation, where energy becomes super cheap, then maybe electric cars become a little bit more feasible. You still have the environmental impact of the mining and stuff. There's geopolitical problems with that too, because a lot of the minerals that we use for that comes from either impoverished African nations or from China, neither of which we really want to deal with. So
yeah. Well, so in short, electric vehicles are overrated.
Overrated.
Next, the term vibe.
Overrated. I hate that. I hate that term. Not a fan. If you use that term, then I think of you less. If you say, I want to see how we vibe. Like if I'm talking to someone, if I match with someone on a dating app or whatever, or if their profile says, let's see if we vibe, then I'd kind of squint a little, and I'm like, ugh, do I really want to do this? And then I'll swipe right, depending on how hot they are.
Well, give me a scenario when it's most it's most okay to use it. If someone said this this song has a particular vibe, is that
Yeah, that's
appropriate? Or are you frustrated a little? Are you still like, are you going there? Are
no,
you
that's
trying to be
better.
cool using
No. If you use it as a noun like that, then I'll say that's acceptable. But if you say I want to see if we vibe, if you use it as a verb, then I probably dislike you.
So he gives off a certain vibe.
That seems acceptable, pretty acceptable.
I want my apartment to give off a particular vibe.
I mean, sure, like it's an acceptable use of the word. Yeah.
When I'm watching a B movie with you, I'm totally vibing.
No.
Like if I were to look over you and say that while I'm eating some ice cream, and be like, man, I'm vibing.
No, I would leave. I would leave our friendship.
I'm really vibing with the sensation of jerking right before
No.
I fall asleep. Vibing and jerking right before I fall asleep.
It goes either way, right? Then it could be males or females.
Okay. Next. The sound of fingernails being clipped.
That doesn't bother me at all. Underrated. I love it. I love that sound. Sounds great.
Love that sound. It sounds like I'm easily trying to say it annoys you or something, but not necessarily. It could just be like, oh, it's satisfying, it's crisp, it's clear,
It is kind of
sudden,
like I definitely don't have a negative response to it. And thinking more about it, yeah, I'm a fan. Underrated. I think people should enjoy it more.
All right.
Yeah.
Next. It's funny how we spend like 10 minutes on one and 30 seconds on the next. Next, sunglasses.
Overrated. Yeah, not a sunglasses fan. I don't ever wear sunglasses. I think in the same way that during the pandemic, during COVID crap, people wear masks and it covers their face and you can't see their facial expressions. Sunglasses do the same thing. It blocks you from making eye contact with people. It significantly lessens communication. And yeah, a lot of people look like douchebags with sunglasses on too, depending on the sunglasses. So yeah, overall, not a fan. I although I'm being a little provocative. I understand their utility if you're in the desert or in the Arctic, or
a really bright place, I would say.
Or a really bright place, then,
which is it often outside during the day.
Well, just simply being outside during the day isn't good enough. Like, everyone can be outside during the day, and not everyone needs sunglasses. Being in the desert or in the Arctic, then it's very bright. Then it hurts your eyes. And so, I could understand wearing sunglasses. Wearing polarized sunglasses to see under the surface of water when fishing, for example, understand the utility of that. So, I'm not totally... I can understand.
Is there a lot of utility in that? Are you really? Because really, it's like, oh, I see that fish, I'm gonna catch it now, or like, you probably have your line in the water anyway, and like, you don't spear the fish, you don't reach your hand in and grab it.
Okay.
So what's seeing it really gonna do? And how?
Well, it sounds like you're not a very accomplished angler, by what I'm hearing you say. Obviously, real anglers would know how.
Yeah, you're even throwing out a term "angler."
How valuable it is to wear polarized sunglasses to see the fish in the water.
Yeah, you're right. I've always that's the go-to. Like, why do you want lenses polarized? And it's like fit. It's such a specific use, and that justification is the use case for polarized. Even though I like polarized, although it frequently can make you not see a screen and you have to tilt or whatever.
Yeah.
But I would just say that most people like sunglasses and appreciate, like, you don't have to squint as much and it's just good for you, or at least that's maybe I'm
purportedly
just coming to market. Yeah, marketing is just what if
people
I'm now weaker though.
People like it. People like it because they are self-conscious about their appearance and they think they look cool and they can hide behind their lenses and not have to make eye contact with people in the same way people wear masks.
That's funny.
The only benefit.
I will say that I like the way I look in like Ray-Bans, but I also am not particularly self-conscious, and I do feel like I look cool.
Yeah, I don't think it's that way for everyone, but it is that way for many people, and probably
well,
you too.
I'm kind of admitting that, like, I wear them for a fashion statement piece, but I don't look I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, after bashing sunglasses all of that period, I am actually in the market for a pair of sunglasses for the hiking season that's upcoming. So if you have any good suggestions, I'm open to those suggestions.
Pretty funny thing to say. I mean, my guess is that if you're not like trying to be brand conscious, that like a pair from the gas station is just suitable. You know,
do that then.
Or
I'll go to the shopping mall.
I mean that. Like I've heard that the polarized aren't any better, whether it's a high end like Maui Gym or something like that versus. You know,
well, I might also try out fly fishing this year, and so I might actually want some polarized.
So if you look, I mean, I would look for that like $50 range you're gonna get an excellent solid pair of plastic sunglasses with a clear lens. You know, the 15 to 20 at the gas station actually the lenses can be foggy. They're just not that clear. But you're gonna get probably, you know how like I've told you about like the shirt market and all this tech stuff.
Yeah,
like,
man.
I haven't done my research.
Sunglasses don't stretch, do they? Lately.
Well, they might have flexible plastics and all sorts. There's all sorts of like surfers or things that are like good for the.
Yeah,
they're not
douchebag brand or non-douchebag brand. So.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think you can get it for 50, 60, $80 instead of $200, $300, $400, you know, like, and you're going to get an excellent pair. So that's my guess is that you'd find that. Okay, next.
All right.
The deconstruction of taboos around mental health, or the jargon of mental health making its creeping into our everyday lexicon.
Okay.
I was just trying to think about how to word that. They're both leading.
They are leading.
Taboos around mental health, or the creep of mental health jargon into.
Yeah, I'm gonna say overrated. Overrated. I think it's kind of obnoxious how much people are droning on and on about mental health. And that's not to say that mental health is unimportant. It's quite important, but like we don't need to hear from a bunch of anxious teens on social media about how they treated their mental illnesses. Like, you're not an expert. Like, I literally don't care what you think about mental illness, and a lot of people seem to be talking about that sort of thing, and they're using. I just doubt their expertise. And I doubt their ability to even understand the expertise in many cases. So I find it less useful, and probably actually the opposite of useful.
This might be an obvious point, but do you think stupidity is able to congregate and pull together in ways that it's unprecedented? Like, it used to be, if you were stupid, you were just sort of isolated in your stupidity.
That's a really good point.
and now, like, you get like whole cultures that can evolve out of the stupidity.
Reinforced stupidity. Yeah, that's an excellent point. I think that is absolutely possible and definitely happening.
It's a kind of a judgy, mean-spirited thought, but it's like, wait a second, things are gaining traction. Like, stupidity can gain traction unlike ever before.
Yeah,
that's the danger of like all the social networking plight kind of thing. Anyway,
definitely. Yeah,
I got two more for us.
All right,
and they're not
they're
not that great. I wish I'd kind of
let's do it, baby.
All right,
I'm ready for this finale. Okay. I'm ready for a great finale. I can't wait to underrate it.
Well, I like this one.
Okay,
the chicken sandwich wars of the fast food or fast casual industry.
Overrated, highly overrated, because Chick-fil-A is obviously the winner and there is no competitor. So the wars, what war?
Yeah, but isn't there a place that you have talked about? Is it called Super Chicks or something like that? That is,
it's real good.
Like probably an offshoot, probably a development of these. Like, the market is primed. And
but they're not winning the war. Like, I mean, they may win the battle, but they're not winning the war. They're good. I ate there today. I had 6 chicken strips because I was hungry today, and today's Tender Tuesday, so they had 3 strips for $5, and they were good.
I would just say that, like, chicken sandwiches, like, the game has been elevated. You don't go to, like, if you order a chicken sandwich somewhere at a fast food restaurant, it is not what it was in the 90s and early 2000s.
That's true. It's not a processed, like goop patty with brown stuff on it. Yeah, it's good. They are good. So, good for Chick-fil-A for making everyone else like attempt to reach their godliness. I use that word advisedly. Chick-fil-A is the king of fast food. Like the quality, I'm not even prepared to say that the quality of the Chick-fil-A sandwich in and of itself is the best in the world, but it's very high. And when you surround that with all the other positive aspects of Chick-fil-A, like the service is so good, like their menu is simple but delicious. They got the milkshakes, like the price is good, like everything is great about it. This
Part of me
podcast is
wants
not
to peek
sponsored by
under the
Chick-fil-A,
hood
by the way.
Part of me wants to, like, just out of curiosity. We've talked about if someone is a master at what they do, we want to know more about how their process. Like Chick-fil-A must have, like, what's their? If I said, hey, here's the money, I'm gonna open up a Chick-fil-A. What are they gonna tell me? What secrets are they gonna give me that's gonna make me way different than if I said, hey, I want to open a Taco Bell and here's the money, like, and like build one, you know? And so I just have a feeling like I'm gonna be treated like as an owner, a franchise owner, like wildly different, and I'm gonna learn. I have a feeling. This is my guess, is that like a Taco Bell would just be like, here's the playbook, go. And I don't know. I just suspect as Chick-fil-A, it's like, all right, they put their arm around me. It's like, time for you to be part of the family. We're gonna let you know the secrets, and they like initiate me into some weirdness that like. I'm like, oh, I see the light now, you know.
From what I've heard, they like strap you down in a chair and put electrodes on your head and like show you pictures of men and women like getting married and like having a family and stuff. I think that's what they do to you.
Yeah, man.
That's what I've heard anyway.
Sounds accurate. All right, last one.
Last one. It's gonna be good. I can't wait. High expectations, very very high. Gonna be very disappointed.
Popping knuckles.
Oh. Underrated. I like popping my knuckles, and the sound doesn't bother me.
Why do you like it?
It feels good.
Is there
It's
actually
a
a sense of release?
tension relief. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, once I think about it, I have to try. But I'll admit that it's like it's a contagious thing. Like if I hear you or see you do it, or I have a thought like right now I'm going through and just, you know, I've already done it, so they're not really popping. But the point is, I think about it and then I need to do it. I don't actually go, oh, my fingers and knuckles have all this tension and they need relief and release. You know, that's not actually what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great ending.
I was trying to keep it alive. I tried, man.
I'm just messing with I'm just kidding. I actually I really enjoyed this segment. I like it because I enjoy passing judgment. It's one of my favorite things to do. And you gave me 17 opportunities to do so.
Do you think if I were to redo this segment, how would this is something we could talk about off air, but
let's
like,
do it on air, baby.
Yeah, let's do it on air. Like, what do you like? Should I like the concepts like empathy? Is that too boring, or is that actually? Would you rather? Do you like the mixture?
I like
of
the mix.
Physical experiences.
Yes, I loved it. I like the variety. I like to not know what's coming next.
Yeah. But I didn't get too silly with it. All of them were serious inquiries and like, oh, how do you, like rated or overrated or underrated or whatever.
I liked it. The hardest part for me to get past is it's kind of a translation I have to do between but because essentially I'm saying, do I like this or not like this? That's really that's what my answers all are. And so I'm translating into that frame instead of over or underrated, because conceivably there could be a thing that I like that is overrated. You know,
your relationship with liking or disliking, say, empathy, is totally based on it being societally overrated. Like
yes.
you would be indifferent toward empathy for the most part.
That's exactly right.
Think.
Yes, that's right.
And your distaste comes from society elevating it.
Like for example, Napoleon Dynamite. I really like Napoleon Dynamite, but I think it's overrated. Yes. Like, I think people give it too much credit. The Office. I like The Office, but it's overrated.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's a tough one, but yeah. I mean, it is rated so extraordinarily highly. You're right that, like, I mean, I don't know. It means so much to so many people, and I think, what does it mean to them it means something to me. I have a relationship with it.
No, I have a real relationship with it. They have a fake relationship with it, and that's why. I'm a
My
true
relationship's
fan.
stronger if I watch again. If I watch it,
No,
and I don't
actually-
even know that they're competing. Like someone like Steven rewatches The Office.
Steven
and
is a true fan of The Office.
He's a legitimately true fan.
Well,
He pretty much has Peacock Plus for that purpose.
Well, the reason, all right, so here's about The Office in particular. The Office is not a consistently good show. It has ups and downs very clearly. It has some garbage episodes.
Yes.
And it has some sublime episodes. And a true fan who appropriately rates The Office understands this. But I don't think that most people actually are nuanced enough, and they just kind of hop on the bandwagon and say, I love The Office. Like, I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. And that's what they say. And they are the reason why The Office is overrated.
I think I asked Steven once, like, how many times have you seen each episode? And he's like, I have no idea, but it's a lot. And I said, over or under 10. And he was like, over, I'm pretty sure. And it's like, wow.
That's a true fan.
That's like...
That man knows how to spend his time.
I mean, I think he's also putting it on like while dinner. Someone might listen to a podcast or watch a YouTube. He might just like have it on. I don't want to oversell it. Like I'll go talk to him and clarify, make sure I'm right about this. But like the man hasn't stopped watching The Office since like it came out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'd like to ask him what's the longest you've gone in between episodes. Seriously, like has it been over a year? That's what I want to know. Has he gone over a year without watching an Office?
I've been considering giving it another run through the series.
When I'm a fan of a show, even like the best show ever, I want to give it a break for 5, maybe even I will not watch Breaking Bad again I just finished, so it'll be at least 5, but really probably 10. In 10 years, I'll go, man, I want to rewatch that.
Yeah.
But I don't want, and so I'm right at the like maybe I could watch all of The Office. The thing is, you catch a rerun every now and then. You just do. At least I have. So it's probably, but still, I haven't sat down and watched a full, or I see a clip or whatever. It's just sort of fresh in our culture. It's always, it's pervasive. So it feels, I haven't had time to miss it, and I like missing it. I like forgetting,
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, bye.
That was fun. Underrated episode, I predict.
Yeah, underrated. Yeah. All right.
It's over.
Bye.